just an arrogant display from a president before. You'd think he'd be just a little humbled by the massive upswell against big government in this country, but he didn't. Instead, he doubled down. Change, he said, wouldn't come easy, adding, "I can't do it alone." Really? Oh, we're so sorry to be holding you back from achieving the fundamental transformation of America, Mr. President. Pardon us citizens for getting in the way of your big plans.
I know that there are those who disagree with the overwhelming scientific evidence on climate change.
Oh my gosh. The ones that the scientists that faked? The faked science.
And yes, it means passing a comprehensive energy and climate bill. If anyone from either party has a better approach that will bring down premiums, let me know.
I've got one.
Let me know.
I've got one.
Let me know.
I've got one. You've got my phone number. Call me. I'll tell you right now. Call me right now, and I'll tell it to you. He talked down to us last night. You got a better idea on health care? Let me know. Then he had the gall to say that things that are blatant, unless you aren't paying attention. If you're paying attention in this country, you know these things are absolutely, blatantly, shockingly untrue.
That's why we've excluded lobbyists from policy-making jobs or seats on federal boards and commissions.
Is that the caveat? Is that what it is? I mean, it's quite an interesting thing to say, especially when your staff has a lobbyist or two in it, or maybe it's three. I don't know. Come here. Let's just take a look. I mean, let's count. There are more than 30 lobbyists in this administration. These are just a few of them. Does this look like somebody who is excluding a lobbyist? He actually said this. This was a campaign promise that he said he was going to make. He broke it over and over and over again. And those of us in the media who are honest about our work, we noticed when he broke this campaign promise. Did you notice the little caveat there? He said it with a straight face. How does the man sleep at night? He said some of the most amazing things I've ever seen a president say in the State of the Union, including calling people out like me and Bill O'Reilly. The president decided he was going to lash out as well, and this was horrifying, to the Supreme Court, who recently dealt a setback to McCain-Feingold. Here's what the president said.
Last week, the Supreme Court reversed a century of law that I believe will open the floodgates for special interests, including foreign corporations, to spend without limit in our elections. I don't think American elections should be bankrolled by America's most powerful interests, or worse, by foreign entities.
Yeah, maybe like George Soros. This is the Supreme Court of the United States. Look what he's doing here. FDR did it. They rule on something and say it's unconstitutional. He says, I don't really care. I'm going to fight you. I'm going to go around you. I'll do whatever I have to do. Well, let me ask you this. Do you see what happened with Judge Sam Alito? He reacted by shaking his head and mouthing the words, "Not true. It's not true." And now he's getting ripped apart. The judge is. For being invited into a house and then, but the people who say, you know, I'm going to invite you in and you have to say there, nail your hands to your legs, don't react, don't do anything, and by the way, I'm just going to insult you to your face and demean you. You know what? When Joe Wilson yelled out, I thought it was wrong. I talked about it on this program. I didn't think it was the right thing to do. Decorum, for the love of Pete. We're not England. But Alito didn't do anything wrong here. It's not the same thing. And in response to his bipartisan commission, Obama wanted to create on the deficit. Well, that got voted down. The Senate didn't like that one. But listen carefully, America. It's what we told you was coming back last spring. Listen to Obama's response.
Yesterday, the Senate blocked a bill that would have created this commission. So I'll issue an executive order that will allow us to go forward, because I refuse to pass this problem on to another generation of Americans.
Just want to make sure you understand. Remember the math that I showed you? They can't. Republicans can't stop or block anything. The Republicans don't have the power. They're in my grandma's coffee can. This is supposed to be the three equal branches of government, but one seems to be more equal than the other. You tell me which one is still standing. You saw a bully last night pushing around the Supreme Court, lying about lobbyists, and announcing if he needs to, he's just going to go right around. I'll go around Congress, I'll executive orders, I'll go around the Supreme Court. You've made yourself irrelevant. Irrelevant. You are irrelevant. Congress is irrelevant. The Supreme Court is irrelevant. Be careful. We've got a revolutionary on our hands, I believe. Back in a minute. All right. Last night, the president took apart, he made an enemies list. Bankers, capitalists, anybody who makes money. Because they were greedy. That's what it was. And in part, that's true. Greed in all of us. That's what got us into this mess. Well, he says, I'm going to get every penny back from those greedy bankers. And most people cheer, as I do. I didn't want them to get the money in the first place. Got it? We're on the same page. The problem is, it can get really muddy here because most people don't understand what the problem was or who the bad guys really even are. It's one thing to say, oh, it's greedy bankers. Well, what really happened? Let me show you. Let's go over some of the evil people from the State of the Union speech. At least some of the evil people. I'm going to skip me, and I think Hannity and Bill O'Reilly, the evil TV pundits that the president pointed out during the State of the Union speech. Let's go right to the part where he talks about the banks.
I refuse to let America go back to the culture of irresponsibility and greed that made it possible. Back to an economy with soaring CEO salaries and shrinking middle-class incomes. Back to the days when banks made reckless decisions that hurt Wall Street and Main Street alike. But today, those same banks are once again making billions in profits and on track to hand out more money in bonuses than ever before, while the American people are still in a world of hurt. The people on Wall Street still don't get it. They don't get it.
Oh boy, they sure don't. They seriously, they don't get it. They don't get it. And Barack Obama knows about not getting it. After all, he's still going after health care reform because he believes, the only reason why we don't like it is because he hasn't said it enough, or he hasn't said it loud enough. But I digress. Back to the evil banks and bankers. Can we do that?
You guys are drawing down $10, $20 million bonuses after America went through the worst economic year that it's gone through in decades. And you guys caused the problem. And we got 10% unemployment. Why do you think people might be a little frustrated?
Okay, now don't confuse those evil bonuses with the millions of dollars of good bonuses received by Fannie and Freddie, the executives there after their $110 billion bailout. That there seems to be no frustration from politicians over that one. And don't forget or confuse those really greedy bonuses with the bonuses that the government guaranteed to the executives if they would just come in and help the government clean up the mess in some of these banks and work some of them for a full year for $1 and then be demonized for asking for the payment. No. Let's just talk about the bad bonuses, like bonuses at Goldman Sachs, because everybody knows that Goldman Sachs, well, they're evil.
The J.P. Morgans or the Goldman Sachs or these companies that have been called too big to fail, well, you know what? If you're that big, then you better have a whole bunch of safeguards so that we don't have to bail you out if you make bad mistakes.
Okay. I got it now. Fat cats, Wall Street bankers. Ask anyone on earth, and they'll tell you the biggest fat cats on the Wall Street bankers, the biggest fish in that evil sea is Goldman Sachs. They're the worst of the worst. I need you to pay attention here for just a second because I'm going to show you this is going to be, we're going to make this the problem. And on the other board, when we come back, I'm going to show you the solution. Now, the banks, Goldman Sachs, all these fat cats getting fatter, gorging themselves on you, the unexpected public. You were told that, well, you could buy. Now, who told you? You could buy a house for more than you could afford. Who told you that? The government did. George Bush was one of them. He told you that. Got it? Because of politics, he and Barney Frank and all that, they were tricking you into borrowing with predatory loans from the banks. But there's some other people here, see, because they repossessed the homes when the inevitable mortgage defaults came. More and more loans were given by banks to those people who couldn't afford them. Some of them didn't even have to prove ID. So Whose job is it to mind the store here, to oversee these banks, see what's going on? Where was everyone? I know that I was saying 2, 3, 4 years ago, this doesn't make any sense. Please, please don't do this. Don't take out these loans because they're going to create a housing bubble here, and it's going to burst. I was called crazy and all kinds of names for even bringing it up. Okay, all right. I was called crazy because nobody else was talking about it. Whose job was it to protect this before it all melted down? The Federal Reserve. See, that's their job. Their job is to protect.